I really appreciate getting the opportunity of talking here in Texas. I've done this talk once before at the Northern Lights Camp in Iceland. And, but I also believe, so my name is Johanna Bergmann, and I'm a firm believer that if you're going to hear an experience story about how you view something from a person, you kind of need to know where they come from. So I'm going to start with a little background of who I am, and it gives you a little insight into kind of where I come from and why I feel this way about the Drupal community. So, I was born and raised in Iceland. I was the daughter of a social educator and a helmsman, and no business. Nobody in business, nowhere around me. And this is around the age that I decided I was going to go into business. And 14 years old, and that's my original given name is Johanna Bergmann, because in Iceland it's a little bit different than we experience here in the States or elsewhere in the world, where people kind of linger on to family names. But I've kind of gone into that now, so I am a Bergmann today, so I belong to the Bergmann family. My husband, that's my husband's last name. So through the time, and specifically at this, when I was 8 years old, in Iceland, we had the first female president. So for me, I believe women can do anything. And there's never ever been in my mind that women are less than men. So that's exactly what I've been raised with all my life. And strong role models with a very strong grandmother. Same name, Johanna Bergmann, but she was Sigurðardóttir, a little bit different. I believe at that age, I'm going to go into business and I'm going to make it work for me. But I never, ever, ever thought I would end up in tech. I just, when I started, it was all about, I realized early on that I could easily sell. For me, sales was just something that was easy. I'm very interested about people. I had this strong need to serve and provide good service. So that combination pushed me into sales jobs. And I became a mother very young, so I didn't finish my proper education. So, but every time when there was something about tech, I was like, don't understand it, not touching it, it's just not going in that direction. So, but after being in sales and marketing for many years, I went back to school and got my undergraduate in business administration and got my master's in international business. Graduated from Reykjavik University, and part of my education was here in San Marcos. I came as an exchange student for 1 semester, and that was kind of my entry into the US, kind of to experience it. And then I went back for 6 months, and then we moved back here. So, but tech was never ever anything I wanted to touch. So, but I like this quote, because you really, really have no clue what's going to go on. And because there's nothing certain or unchangeable. So, how did I end up here? So in 2010, after I had done 1 semester in San Marcos, we decided, I was there fall 2009, and then summer 2010, we moved to Austin, Texas. And my goal was to get into marketing, and I've always been, it's the bottom line, you provide good service, and it's the traditional way of business. That is exactly what I've been working in sales and marketing, in media, which most of my years I worked in media, radio, TV, and newspapers. It's a very hardcore sales, bottom line business, and specifically through the period that I was there, it was, the digital was kind of looming over and taking bigger part of the piece, so it was really a struggle. So I was all about that. So, and I had no clue what open source was. So for me, that was just completely, I was oblivious. I just did not understand it, how people can make that work for them money-wise. But after I moved here in 2010, very tough 2 years. But then I was hired by a local company here in Austin called Volaci. They had a pretty significant team at the time and offered search engine optimization for Drupal sites. And that was kind of my first entry into Drupal. And my goal was I was doing their marketing, so I was planning the first Drupal event. And in that process, I was trying to figure out, okay, what's Drupal? What kind of people are going to be there? And I was only told, well, just do your best, plan it, you know, just get us some marketing material, put it together, and then you will figure it out. And for me, that was a real like, huh? And it was that big mystery of oh, you can't explain to me? It's like, no, you just have to go in and experience it. And for me, that was I was like, no, marketing, that's all about numbers, that's who's your target. And it was like, no, you just have to go in and experience it. So here I am 4 years later. It's kind of, because I'm not a coder, and like Michael's here, and I'm learning a lot about tech, we work together, and he has completely gone through that process of educating me about everything that has to do with hosting. But in the process, because I'm not a coder, when I look at Drupal and the Drupal community, I see so many things that I know, the people that are working in it, they're kind of in the thick of it. You kind of don't see the forest. You can't see the forest for the trees because you're kind of in it, and you get in the politics, you get into so many things that are related and that are kind of affected because you're working on it. You get frustrated because of issues that are more kind of related to the code, or even politics in the community and all that. But we have this amazing cooperative edge in this community and with the code. And it's kind of in two categories. One is the global brain power, and the second one is the cooperative community. So just want to start with the global brain power. So Drupal 8. So I didn't include that after I had been hired and worked for Volaci, after a year there, I moved over and I worked for the Drupal Association. So I was based here in Austin, but I was up and worked for the Portland office, and we have the main goal that the Drupal Association does is run DrupalCons in Europe and here in the US. So I got a chance as an account manager to connect with Drupal agencies all over the world. And that's my favorite part of this whole thing. So I was at the Drupal Association, and I can tell you when I joined, and my first job in Drupal at Volaci, and I said, oh yeah, that was 2012, and I said, oh, Drupal 8, it's nearly ready. And then I went to the association, and Drupal 8 was always nearly ready until in 2015. So we're talking about, I heard about a platform that was about to be ready for 3 years. But in order to make that happen, this is the global brain power. CTI is an agency out of UK, and Paul Johnson, he's a significant contributor when it comes to when you're monitoring what's going on at Drupal events and other, like when you see things that are happening at the European Con. Paul is the person that is funneling everything out to our social media. He is also very, even though he doesn't come to the US one, he's very active of keeping everyone kind of in the know. But CTI, an agency, they pulled to begin with, this picture is from their sponsorship at DrupalCon Barcelona. So they bought a lounge sponsorship, and usually people put like furniture on the floor, and you can sit there, chill, charge your phone and stuff. He printed a 10 by 10 sticker with this. and it was on the floor, and nobody during DrupalCon walked over it. Everybody walked past and read through the whole thing. So these are the contributors to Drupal 8. And the size tells you how much they contributed. But they had a really interesting data that they used to build this. So he posted a blog shortly after. And this one is the one hold on, this is the one by country. So you can see based on how many people from each country contribute. And same team, the CTI team, but this one is one of my favorites. Remember, I come from Iceland. This one is per capita. And Greenland is the biggest. There are just, when kind of to put it in perspective, Greenland, I think they have about 35,000 people that live there. That's their population. It's a very small population. Iceland, right here, 330,000 people that live there. The US has, oh, where are they?
Yeah.
They're right here. But keep in mind, 330 million people. So, but this is literally that. This is our global brain power, and I don't think you can go anywhere and find this collaboration on this level from these individuals. And I've heard through the time that I've been working, when I was at the Drupal Association, I heard there are agencies that hire people full-time just for contributions, but they are few. So probably 99% of this is volunteer work. So it is very, very unique. So this is our brain comp. But I kind of forgot to include that the team, the first slide, there were around 3,000 people that did contribute to Drupal 8, nearly 3,000 people. So it is significant. But how do we do it? How do we have all those individuals and from all those different cultures combine, come together and combine their efforts and solve these problems? That's because we have code of conduct. And then again, we are in a period now where we really had to go through, have to really check if our list is our code of conduct is really keeping us on track. There's been issues that the community has had to face, but because we do have the code of conduct, it gives us that threat through the whole thing. And I have seen so many people step up, and specifically when we have new people coming into the community that don't behave as they maybe should. There's no police. It is our community that stands together and says, no, we do not behave like this. So, however, so when it comes to the second part and the cooperative community, what does that really mean? And that's like when you're in the thick of it and you sit by your computer and you code and you give back, you feel like, oh, I can check the box, I did it. But what does it really look like? And this is like one of the examples of what really happened. At the end of Drupal 8, when we were at the end, really nearly there, we had to get some people together in the same room to push certain things through. So the Drupal Association put together the DaAccelerate, and it was the board that decided to do a fundraiser. And from 400 donors, and we're talking about mainly individuals. There were a few companies that put money into it, but they were mainly individuals because they wanted to see the platform go forward so they could continue to build. And that's how we kind of got Drupal 8 out on November 19th. So it's a year and a half ago. So 2 years this November. But what does this community really, how big is it? And these numbers are from, if you check out Drupal.org, every week they pull together the numbers, and it's at the bottom of the home page. So this previous week, there were 107,000 active users actively contributing. That is a lot. That's a lot. And the comments are significant, and the comments. So it's like people can contribute on any level, even like people that don't feel comfortable about coming in and committing. They can at least go and read through the documentation. They can help with translations. There are just so many ways that have opened up for companies to help with this issue. And you don't have to face a problem alone. And I've experienced that also in my current job. We have active conversations with other companies on figuring how we can, on the open source level, work together to build a better thing so everybody can benefit from it. It's not just the individuals that are contributing on their own. It's also companies that get into that conversation and push that forward. But the home of the project completely keeps, well, if you want to start, if there's a newcomer, he should not have to be alone ever, because of the opportunities that are there to communicate with each other. But how do we, and we have Drupal.org, and then we need to fund that. It's not like all that work of giving back, making sure we wrote the code, but how are we going to pay for running it? Because it's not free, even though it's open source. So the Drupal Association put together a Drupal.org support, so they're supporting partners. And the combination of, there are companies that are like, no, we just contribute. We're actively contributing. Our staff members, they always put X amount of hours every month into giving back to Drupal. And then we have companies that say, we're so busy we can't do it, so we are going to give you some money. So, and that's how we can keep that running. And it's in benefit for everyone. So the Drupal.org support is a combination of, it started with just supporting partner, premium supporting partner, and then we moved over and got technologies in, and then we got the hosting companies. And I know Amazee.io has not signed up to be a supporting partner yet. It is on the to-do list. So, but again, kind of when you're in the thick of it, you don't see really how big it is, because you might have your own kind of group of people that you mainly communicate with. There are nearly 900 organizations that are listing themselves on the marketplace on Drupal.org. And there are 600 organizations that have listed themselves as supporters, and 2,650 individuals. So this number, though, moves a lot. It kind of rotates, but I've seen a steady growth in the organizations, and that just tells me that these are not all Drupal shops like we used to call them. Now we have agencies that are working in different technologies, and they are setting up their own Drupal department, and they sign up and they support. So we're growing, even though we've had all kinds of rumors that Drupal is not growing. When you look at these numbers, we are. Drupal is getting on the radar for so many more companies around the world. So we kind of just sometimes need to look up and say, okay, there's another thing happening out there. It's not just our local community or the group that we know the best. But so this is this is really what kind of got me hooked. When I first came into Drupal, and it was in October in 2012. That was the first Drupal event that I went to. It was in Atlanta. It was Drupal Camp Atlanta. They had a business day and then they had a camp. But and keep in mind, I had come from a very traditional business. So we get into the hotel, and at the hotel bar that evening, they're very friendly, and I'm introduced to all the people over there, and they all they were CEOs of Drupal agencies. And I sat down with them, and I thought it would be like those, nice to, how are things going? It would be more like a superficial conversation. And I was surprised, because they went really into details of sharing how they run their business. They were sharing what methods worked for them. They were sharing how they kept their teams happy. They were sharing, they just, everything that I would consider to be a secret. Because this is your company. You're not going to tell them how you do your things, because that's going to give you that advantage that you need. But no, they were in detail. And then every event that I went after that, I experienced more and more of corporate secrets being shared. And I think it's also because we are now like 3% of the market. When you look at solutions that are built out there, Drupal is like at 3%, or just below 3%. If we would be at 97%, this would probably not be happening. But we are at 3%. So there are a lot of advantages. So I would say that we have a cooperative and competitive, so we are a co-competitive community. So we root for each other, we share the information all the way up to the C level. And and I even have to say that even though we do it pretty well here in the States, they even go beyond that in Europe. So with their CXO dinners and all kind of in detail, they just really want to help each other grow their companies. So how can we keep this going? Because we are growing. Numbers show us that. And there are different companies coming in, because we kind of benefit from the fact that we had these unique Drupal companies that were just Drupal shops, like we used to call them. And they just built Drupal sites, and we had a little nice community, but it's growing, which means that we're getting other cultures, well, kind of bleeding into our community. Just the fact that we have those larger agencies that are building their Drupal teams, just that means you have large brands that have very sophisticated marketing and have a lot of things going on, and it's easy to get lost in there. But I appreciate that I see more of those agencies hire very established Drupal contributors into, and they kind of introduce them to the culture within the Drupal community. However, each and every individual can help us keep this going, and these are kind of the ways to do it. And we have to stay active. The bigger we get, it's going to get more difficult to keep things going. But if we stay active in our local community, if we stay active with the local meetups, the local user groups, and work with newcomers, make sure that if we have a team of individuals that can contribute, give them a chance to talk to the newcomers. We are very active here, like Amazy.io and Amazy Labs here in Austin. Amazy Labs is running at the office. They just opened the office so they can have the meetups there. Simple gestures like that can help us be strong on that. And the pressure has always been, it has mainly been on developers to contribute their work. So give back their code, all that. But agencies, well, the Drupal shops, they're now becoming agencies or even part of larger agencies. They have other people on their team that can really also help with the contributing, and that is with the content, the stories. Because if we want to grow Drupal even further, the stories of how we solved XYZ problem in a case study. So giving the marketing people or the contributors in other areas to make sure that we post them. If you post them on your company site, post them also on Drupal.org, because that is there's a bigger group that has access to that. And then, of course, submit sessions to Drupal events. Tell your story. Make sure that you and give your teams the opportunity to do that. And last but not least is become a Drupal Association member in some way or form. Because if you contribute your time or effort, just to showcase that Drupal is like, hey, I'm part of the community, it helps us show that we are a larger community. It's easy to fly under the radar and be everywhere, but make sure you are listed and you get your name on a profile on Drupal.org. Before I leave, I've personally experienced even more how give-back culture is here in the Drupal community. I want to share that. So it's a little story, and it's been going really fast, so it's all good. We had enough time. But I ran into a community member, Matt Young. He's out of San Diego, and he runs a low coding club over there. And this was probably 2014, yeah, early 2014. And he tells me about I was at SandCamp. He tells me about the coding club, how he's teaching his son and his friends, and they've grown their group. They were up to 50 at the time, how they were teaching them to code through Minecraft. And I thought that is so cool. And I was like, I want that. So I kept just like, can you push this online so I can get my son out of Austin to do that? And he's like, no, I don't have time to build that. Just do your own club. I'm like, I'm not a technical person. I cannot do that. So but we went into Austin, DrupalCon Austin, and I talked to a few people at Fort Kitchens, and Matt was there, and he said, oh, and talked to Rob Bristow. There's a big hackerspace here in Austin. So I kind of just said, hey guys, do you want to do something like that? I was like, I can bring the kids and the snack. That's all I can do. But if you want to do this, I really would like to. And nothing happened. And then at DrupalCon Amsterdam, Mike Manecki at Fort Kitchens walked up to me and said, what about that program you were thinking about? I want to teach kids. And I was like, yes. So in January 2015, we started. So we're very privileged. Here in Austin, there is the ATX Hackerspace. It's a co-op. They have built. It's an amazing facility. So we have Mike there and Rob and Dylan. He was with us in the beginning, and here are the happy 12-year-old boys after their first meeting that they got to not just look at Minecraft, that it's a tool to play with. You can build something. So they were so happy. We've been doing this for over 2 years, and these are pictures from January last. And this is around, and I had to take a picture of the group again 2 years later. All the boys are getting their passing. And we got Michael on the team also, and they've moved from here you see they're building a drone. So they've moved from coding in Minecraft to learn and work on JavaScript into building robots, sumo bots, to work with Arduino boards and lights, and then we got Michael on board, and it was like, okay, let's fly something. So I didn't get I wish I could have. They've already flown them and broken them, and now they're rebuilding them. So, but this is completely one of the, I would say, like those beautiful side effects that come from an open source community. People are willing to give their work, and they're willing to contribute. And it's not always about the money. It's also about, you know, being part of something bigger, or help somebody, you know, push further. And you see that also at local meetups, those people that are so, they're just so willing to give up their time and energy to help somebody, you know, find their way into the Drupal community. So, again, this is how we can maintain our cooperative edge. Stay active locally, share our work, and support the Drupal Association, or at least show that we are active members in the community on the site. That's the beginning, and then we can find our way into be more active. So, thank you. Any questions?
So where's the ACX hackerspace located?
Okay, it is, let me just, it's out of Dessau? Northeast.
Northeast Austin.
It's Northeast Austin. It's out of
Dessau?
Dessau, yeah.
That's cool. I've got an almost 11-year-old kiddo, so do you have like other active programs for
it's like
this is
it's literally like organized in a Slack channel where
yes. Oh, and maybe I should.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Maybe I should share also what's happening. So that group. I'm going to turn off the recording.